The Los Angeles Unified School District, which is one of the largest school districts in the country, has decided to reform its zero tolerance policies. And the reason why they're doing this is because they're realizing that, hey, you know what? We're really contributing to this school to prison pipeline. We're criminalizing these kids, and it's not helping them or their future. So under the previous policies, students would face arrest or citations for nonviolent violations, including possessing alcohol or marijuana on campus. Now, such students will be sent to the principal's office or be given mandatory counseling. To give you a better sense of what they're going to do, under the reform system, if a student is caught misbehaving, a school police officer must follow a step-by-step guide directing students to interventions on or off campus. Under the previous policy, students would be sent to court or probation. Now, judges were furious with it. Well, some judges were furious with this because they're like, look, dude, you teachers, you're supposed to do your jobs. You administrators, you're supposed to do your jobs. Stop wasting our freaking time with these kids who are drinking alcohol or smoking weed. It doesn't make any sense. And it disproportionately targeted minority students, okay? So first, let me give you a quick quote from a judge. The people who are in these schools need to deal with these issues, not use the courts as an outlet. We have to change our attitude and realize that the punitive approach clearly has not worked. And another thing that you should keep in mind is we're spending a considerable amount of money to put police officers on campuses, right? The number of school police officers increased 38% from 1997 to 2007, and that's according to the Department of Justice.
So, you know, when I was growing up, we didn't have school police. The school police was the assistant principal, and she'd yell at you, right? Or she might give you in or out of school suspension. The idea of criminalizing you being late to class or these sometimes incredibly minor violations was insane. It was unthinkable. Like kids smoking when they shouldn't have been smoking. Of course, you're not going to send them to court. You're not going to send them. Are you crazy? No, you're going to give them detention, right? And so I got into countless fights when I was younger in school. I never got taken to court. It was assault. It was a bunch of kids fighting. And, you know, you grabbed them by the ear and you brought them in, whatever it was, right? And you gave them some sort of punishment. This is crazy, 38%, right?
I know.
And Edwin, who works here, was telling me before the show started, in Compton, now the school police are carrying AR-15s.
Well, of course. I mean, they need to.
So, I mean, how long are you going to carry around AR-15s before you shoot a kid? You know what I'm saying? Because then you got them, and it makes it fight or flight, right? He's got the AR-15, you get your dander up, and there's kind of a conflict, and somebody's going to use it, right? This is crazy.
Well, to be fair to the campus police, they have nothing to worry about. If they do end up shooting and killing a kid, all you have to do is research that kid's history to see if they've smoked pot at any point in their past. And then they probably deserved it.
Yeah, or if they ever wrote rap lyrics or made a hand sign in a picture, right? And then be like, oh, that had it coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so as I said, it disproportionately targets minorities, and I want to give you the statistics on that. It's pretty sad. So black students represented only 17% of national public school enrollment in 2000, but accounted for 34% of suspensions. So that doesn't necessarily mean that they went to juvenile detention centers, but usually they are targeted for suspensions. Now, when it comes to special education students, they represent 8.6% of public school students, but 32% of youth in juvenile detention nationwide. This is according to the New York Civil Liberties Union. They compiled this data for us, and they're not the ones who went out and did the research. They're basing this evidence on government analysis. And also, black students with learning disabilities are 3 times more likely to be suspended than white students with learning disabilities, and 4 times more likely to end up in correctional facilities.
Okay, think about that one, because that one's really interesting. Because both kids have learning disabilities, and so it's often confused for them being violent or not listening to orders, things like that, right? But the assumptions, the stereotype behind black kids leads them, because it's not like they have any bad intent, they have a learning disability, right? It's not like they're actually dangerous in some sort of gang way, whatever it is, right? But the stereotypes lead people involved here at the school, police officers, et cetera, to be like, oh, the black ones are dangerous.
Yeah.
So at a 3 times rate, another category 4 times rate, send them into court, into jail, and take some sort of punitive action, as opposed to the white kids that have the learning disability. That to me is super telling of the stereotypes that are in our in our heads. You might not even realize it's in your head, right?
Yeah. I think that there are two things at play here. First of all, with zero tolerance policies, it makes the lives of teachers and administrators much easier because you don't have to use human judgment. You just say, nah, zero tolerance, we got to get rid of you, prosecute, right? And then the other part at play, I think, really has to do with like the prison industrial complex. So I always remember the story of Judge Mark Chivarella, right, from Georgia, who went out of his way to incarcerate as many teenagers as possible for nonviolent offenses because there were private detention centers that were paying him under the table to do so. And I'm not saying that that type of overt corruption is taking place, but there is an incentive to lock away as many people as possible in the country because we have privatized that industry. You have private prisons, private detention centers, and they want money. They want money from our government to house all of these nonviolent offenders. So those two things mixed together lead to a really freaking dangerous cocktail where we're criminalizing people that we should not be criminalizing.
So, but remember, today is good news because LA has ended their zero tolerance policy. And so at least we're headed back, hopefully, in a sane direction now. Hopefully more school districts follow suit here. LA is a giant school district, so it's great news in and of its own.
640,000 students in the LAUSD.
I got to give one last amazing fact. Around 93% of the approximate 9,000 arrests and tickets issued to students in the 2011-2012 school year were given to African American and Latino students. 93%. Okay. Now, part of the reason for that is a lot of the white students, by the way, have already been pulled into private schools in LA. So that's the thing that's happening here on the ground in LA. But at those private schools, they're not arresting the kids. No way, if there's a disturbance, they're going to put a criminal record on a kid at a private school. It would have to be massively serious for them to do that. So again, another situation, we have this huge disparity. It winds up affecting minorities more, but I don't think it's because they're minorities in that case. I think it's because of the socioeconomic status.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
It's all about whether or not the family has the resources to fight against you if you try to criminalize the student.